Hey, this is Derek Jordan. Welcome to the World Fusion Show, where we bring you the leading innovators in world fusion music. Today, my guest is Senie Hunt, and Senie is a percussive guitarist and singer-songwriter. He grew up in war-torn Sierra Leone, and we'll talk about that later. And he now lives in Concord, New Hampshire. Welcome, Senie Hunt, to the World Fusion Show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. And it's great to have you here and to share your music and your story with us.
Thank you.
So I just started by saying that you were born in Sierra Leone. You had a twin sister, and you were quite young during the war. And tell us what that was like. I mean, that's a pretty intense way.
Yeah, it was very stressful, obviously, as you can imagine. But we kind of found our ways to kind of deal with the stress while we were there, and music happened to be one of the biggest ones that we kind of shared throughout the orphanage. And it was kind of one of those, I'm happy I made it through, but at the same time, what happened there also kind of created my who I am today, and why I am so passionate about my music.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah.
You said you fled into the mountains.
Yeah, so
you were on the move sometimes.
Yeah, so our orphanage was for the most part safe for most of the beginning of the war, but as the war kind of just expanded more and more, the rebels actually broke into our orphanage, and we were forced to flee, just kind of on the spot, just get up and we fled into
middle of the night kind of deal.
Yeah. And so we fled into the mountains, and we walked for a long time. I don't remember how long it was, but I've never in my life ever had to walk that long again. But,
so how old were you at this time?
At this time we were about four or 5 years old, and it was kind of, we were actually supposed to be adopted earlier, but because of the incident into the orphanage, it was delayed by a couple years.
Right. So you came to the U.S. when you were 5.
Yes.
Right? And you moved to New Hampshire at that time? Or?
Yes.
Yeah. So how was that for you, adapting to the new culture?
It was it kind of was shocking for me at first. When my first plane ride, my first car, first kind of exposure to electricity.
A lot of firsts.
Yeah, a lot of firsts. And it was, it could be overwhelming at sometimes, but also when we first came, like all I wanted to do was play with all the toys that my adoptive parents had around for us.
Sure.
And I would stay up late doing that. My sister was more early to bed, but it was kind of, it was a real huge change, obviously. But I would say that I wouldn't trade it in for anything else.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Seems like you're doing fine now. And
yes.
Taking care of yourself and all. So I'd love to go to our first video, which is you playing the percussive guitar thing that you recorded with New Hampshire, Grand Estate of Mind. Tell us, when it's talk about this piece we're going to see.
Okay. So it's I recorded it at WKXL I believe in Concord with Rob Azevedo. And he's had that station there for a few years now, and he's kind of doing the same idea of bringing in local artists and getting them kind of time to share their stories and passion with his passion as well.
Right.
So yeah, and this song was one of the newer songs that I had written at the time, and I thought it would be appropriate to kind of play it at the station.
Yeah. So you said you started guitar here when you were 10 years
Yes.
old. Well, tell us just a little bit about that too.
Yeah, so I heard the guitar for the first time probably so I heard it first when I was 7, and that's when I really wanted to play guitar.
Right.
And my mom told me what it was when I first heard it, and it was James Taylor on the radio.
One of my favorites too,
Yeah.
actually.
And so I got my first guitar around 7 or 8 years old, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I flipped it over and would drum on it because I was a drummer before.
Sure.
So that was kind of how I experimented with.
And you still drum on it.
Oh yeah, I still drum on it. Yeah, yep.
And other things too.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, let's go to this first fit and watch this. All right, we are back with Senie Hunt. Now, you just released your first CD. And so what was that like, the process, making that CD?
It was very exhausting, in a good way. I was kind of shocked of how long it was going to take. It's only 5 songs, but the whole process itself took about 2.5 years.
Wow.
Between pre-production, planning, and then production, and then post-production, and then getting it duplicated and released.
Right.
And it was kind of one of those, like, it taught me how much I loved the songs. It kind of tested me with it, because I had to hear the songs over and over again.
Yeah.
I had to play them over and over again. So I had to.
You get sick of them sometimes.
Yeah. So I actually ended up just before finishing, probably 2 or 3 songs in, I ended up changing one of the songs.
Yeah.
Just because of that. Because
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if I want to hear this song on the album.
Need something else.
Yeah, I need something else, and so I, and ultimately it was just well worth it. Now that it's been 2 years ago, all these songs have evolved. So,
of course.
Of course, now I have new versions of them.
And now you're ready for another CD.
Oh yeah, I'm ready for like 5 or 6.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's good. That's the way it should be. So I'd love to go to our second video, which is the title song from your CD, Songbird. Do you want to say anything about this song?
Yeah, so Songbird was one of the first sort of first vocal songs I wrote, and I actually wrote it here in Vermont.
Nice.
And I wrote it on a water tower out in the middle of the woods, and I just kind of wanted to get away from civilization for a moment.
Sure.
And I sat on top of the water tower and just listened to the birds and just nature, and kind of was inspired by that, by what I heard.
That's great. Let's watch the video right now.
Cherry blossoms bloom, sweet ocean breeze, take me away toward the vacant signs, guiding the angels home. Sweet the newborn star, guiding the angels home. High, high, high,
All right, very nice, very nice. So you are working with the New Hampshire Music Collective now.
Yes.
Who are getting you shows, and you've been playing quite a lot.
Oh yes,
lately. Yeah, I've been busy. I've been watching you on Facebook. You're all over the place.
Oh yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So also you do a lot of collaborating. You've done with different kinds of musicians. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I've always found myself like I love kind of accompanying other musicians or having them accompany me, because it kind of, you bring out something in your song or other songs that you wouldn't yourself see. So when I play with a bass player and a drummer or another guitarist, and they kind of put their knowledge into the song, and they put their sort of creative touch to the song, and it creates such a different sound that you wouldn't have done on your own.
Right, right.
And I really love playing with cellists and violins.
Nice.
They some of the best accompaniments to my music, and it's just something I love doing.
That's great.
And I used to play with the band when I was my first few years of college.
Right.
But,
What kind of stuff did you do?
we did kind of like a fusion rock. We fused rock, jazz, and kind of alternative and punk together. So our name was Continental Fusion.
Okay.
Because we were all from different continents.
Right.
I was from Africa. Our drummer was from India, and then our bass player was from South America.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So we were kind of like, oh, how can we come up with a name that fits that, and that was what came out. So.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So I'd love to go to our next video, which is Stepping Stone. You want to say a little bit about this piece?
Yeah, this is actually one of those songs I wrote actually close to when I started the album. And this was actually a song I didn't put on because it wasn't ready at the time.
Right.
But it was about kind of getting going to college and realizing college wasn't for me, and I had to set my own path. So this song kind of catches that.
Yeah. It's kind of cool. Let's check this out right now. All right, nice. We are back with Senie Hunt. Senie, so tell me a little bit about your philosophy and what your goals are for your music.
So I have a lot of things that kind of go into when I perform, and most of it is just how I interact with who I'm playing for, and how they kind of understand the interaction, which is why I love playing in places where people are there to listen to. I kind of want to bring out the emotion that I have in my songs and share that to the people that perform.
Sure.
I'm not always great with words, but when the music takes over, it allows me for that platform to express myself. And ultimately, with my career, I want to kind of bring my music as a way to sort of help others kind of find their way or help. Eventually, I want to go back to Sierra Leone, back to my village. We found my birth parents, and I want to help their community in the way I can. And right now, music is that way that I know. And so, if I could get there and sort of tell them, hey, I'm doing what I love. I know I wasn't with you my whole life, but you're always with me in my music, and this is what's become of it. And
Thanks.
I want them to know that.
That's terrific. Yeah. So is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience about what you're doing or anything before we go?
Yeah, so I'm performing a lot in the area, and I again, like I said, I released my album earlier in May. And if you ever get a chance to look me up, and if you see me playing in your area, make sure you get out and kind of come for the experience, if anything. So,
well, that's great. And of course, we'll put your website and everything up on the end of the show so people can contact you and stay in touch and check out where you're playing and all that. So, Senie, I just wanted to say thank you so much, Senie Hunt, for joining us today on the World Fusion Show. It's been really great. And we're about to go to the part of the show that many people like the best, which is where we play together in the studio here. And that's always a lot of fun.
Perfect.
It's really, really cool. So, hey, all right. This is Derek Jordan. Thank you for joining us today on the World Fusion Show. And it's been just great to have you. We've got so many more great shows and artists coming up. If you want to check out what we've done, just go to Facebook or YouTube and look up the World Fusion Show, and you can see the over 50 shows that we've produced. And we also just won a national award for the show on Public Access TV. We got the Best Entertainment and Arts Series for this year. I'm pretty psyched about that. It looks like a lot of people out there like world fusion music as much as we do. So that's kind of cool. Yes, podcasts also are on iTunes and SoundCloud. So please check that out. And hey, as we always say on the show, remember, think globally, listen locally, and support independent music.